Good day, Endless Ranters.
Good day, Endless Ranters. This is Jane.
This is Chris, and welcome to episode 54 of your Endless Ranters podcast. This is kind of a special daytime version of the Endless Ranters. As mentioned on other shows, we're going to mix things up a bit and rotate hosts and themes from time to time. And one of our goals is to talk to more of you out there, Adam Carolla fans, Endless Ranters friends, and fans, friends, family. And today we have the opportunity to get together with someone I've wanted to talk to for quite some time, really since the early Endless Ranters days, but just, kids and all that kind of stuff couldn't make it work. Also a good friend of Jane's. She goes by Kat. You may see her in the Ace Holes group as Kat Heron. So one of these mysterious Facebook name changer people. Welcome, Kat. How are you?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Oh, of course. It's good to finally see you, meet you, and talk to you about all this stuff. So, yeah, explain this phenomena of like the name changing on Facebook, like because I've seen it a lot and I get it, but yeah,
I think it's just from like everything that's happening in the last election cycle and just seeing so many people just get, torn a new one. Like my profile is pretty locked down, and it's not like I'm out there stirring the pot a lot, but I don't know, it just felt like you just never knew. And
yeah,
I don't know. You still kind of want to like engage and say something, but you say something on a community forum, it just seemed like people were getting torn apart for like this small, like something that had nothing to do with anything,
sure.
Race relations or anything like that. And all of a sudden it would just be like all over the place. And I don't know. I just get paranoid about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I always thought people could like just screenshot just crazy things you say in an internet fight, an online fight with somebody.
Take them like
just trying to
out of context.
Yeah, just try to wreck you. So I get it. I haven't done it yet. I don't know.
Yeah. I think you guys are smart. You guys are probably just, I still run my mouth in the Carolla group, but other places I try to like tone it back. But I also know that I'm probably put it out there sometimes. So
yeah.
So is Heron related? Is that a real
No, it's just Catherine. It's just like
Catherine
split into two.
Oh my gosh. I never put that together, but okay. I thought maybe like hair, it sounds like herring, like a red herring.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. No. Wow, that was like I would feel so smart if that's what it was. No, dang it.
All right. I've blundered there.
Reconsider this show for oh boy. Yeah, you're real into herons, the birds.
Right. Well, so back in the day I used to like find terrorists like online in one of my old jobs, and so there's a lot of like Facebook hunting. And so there's like different things with like your Facebook URL and then like how your display name. So I changed like those things up, over the years. And this was sort of like the last thing that I did. I had my real name out there for a while, and then I just like,
wow,
it would still be easy to find, but
we need to back up to hunting terrorists.
Yeah.
Online on Facebook.
Wow, I feel like we could just skip all the Carolla stuff.
You're like that. What's the guy's name that does the Catch a Predator? Chris something? Chris Harrison?
Chris
Hansen. You're like the Chris Hansen of Al Qaeda.
Yeah. Al Qaeda.
So you try to be. That sounds. Oh, I can. What was that like? Because I've got my imagination's running wild. That you're trying.
Yeah, I wasn't doing operations or anything. Just like, trying to figure out who people were. And it was, more just like deciding like, does this person need a case open on them? Like what else is going on with them? Like, should we look into this more, that sort of thing. And so it was sort of like pre-investigative type activity. Sometimes it was in support of investigations, but only on like people who didn't have investigations open on them. And so it was just, you just never know. Like, as you can imagine, there's so many keyboard warriors, and, that's not just in the United States, obviously that's everywhere in the world. So somebody can say that they're ISIS or AQ or something, And then you're like, oh, this is a 15-year-old in Tunisia. And if he actually wanted to join AQ or, you know, some offshoot, he could like drive on a road, catch a bus in his own country and go join up, or he could easily do that. And so he's not doing that. He's just like being an asshole online. So kind of handle that differently.
Were these people that were already flagged that you were investigating, or were you doing the initial flagging?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes they like would come up, you know, I mean, both. Yeah.
And these are just people around the world that are professing these things on social media, like
so like
on Facebook.
You know, not necessarily. Like they would a lot of times it would be they might deface something, right? So they would deface a website. Well, not something. They would deface a website, which would be if you had a website, you sold shoes, for instance, and you had a website for selling shoes, and then, you know, one morning you woke up and it had like this big banner on the front, and when they went to chrisisshoes.com, it just said like, ISIS is here, ISIS hates you, America, blah, 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 a bunch of stuff in Arabic, a bunch of, you know, ISIS pictures, beheading video, whatever, then we'd be like, okay, what's going on here? I mean, that's kind of like the most, I guess, unclassified type example, but it's like you get people who kind of do something and you're like, all right, what's this about? And dig into it. Because some things like that are just so easy to do if like a server isn't locked down, or people are just careless with passwords and things like that. So you just kind of look into it, I guess. Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty fascinating. Yeah.
Yeah, like do you get trained specifically to do that, or how much of it is just kind of instinct? They trust you. Like it's a more
Yeah, I mean, there's training, right? Because there's like open source intelligence, which is what you would call that. And so there's training in that, like, you know, especially if you don't know how to maneuver around one of the social media type platforms, then you have to learn one of those. So you might, you know, being younger and being on Twitter and Facebook and that kind of stuff, maybe you kind of have that, but you still learn more about the back end. And like I was talking about URLs earlier, right? That like address that's unique for each Facebook profile, for instance, right? Or Twitter. And so there's, you know, some training in that. And then obviously there's a bunch of other systems that you can search things on that aren't just Google. And so there's training on those types of things. But, you know, hunting, it's more like, well, hunting, that sounds bad. Targeting is more like, you just have to like make sure you work within parameters, because you don't want to like violate really anybody's rights, right? You can't just like you know, an FBI employee can't just like search endlessly and just, you know, go down a rabbit hole on a US citizen and, you know, start doing all the stuff. Like you can't do that. So there's different parameters there for like US citizens versus not and stuff like that. So that training definitely to stay within the law.
Right. Wow. That makes sense.
Well, man, we might have to have you back just to talk about all this stuff. And I'm good with hunting, targeting, both of those sound pretty awesome.
See, I do what you do, but I do it, you know, on men I like go on dates with. A master stalker.
Oh yeah.
There you go. But I think everyone's probably done it to some degree, right? I mean, you just check people out. Like Chris, you're in sales like me. So when you're going to go talk to somebody, when you're doing business development, like depending on what that conversation is around, you're going to like dig in a little bit. Do you have anything in common that you can bring up? Is there anything that is unique about them or something like that, that is just a conversation starter? So a lot of people do it in their professional jobs.
I'm not good at snooping, but yeah, earlier when Jane asked you what kind of training you had, I was hoping you'd say like, oh, it's just a hobby. It's just a hobby. Like,
right.
just digging at people, like, ex-boyfriends and stuff. Just, you know.
Yeah.
Well, wow, that sounds cool. And yeah, we should talk about that more, like maybe on a kind of a different focus show. But we really wanted to talk to you about your your Adam Carolla origin story and kind of how you started listening to Adam. But before we get into that, I wanted to cover some business here. Just ask everybody to remember to like and follow, subscribe to all of our stuff. Search Endless Ranters wherever you're listening, YouTube, Spotify, all the popular podcast apps. We're doing a live Endless Ranters show every Wednesday or Thursday on YouTube. So you subscribe to that, you get alerts and all that kind of thing. So we're trying to, we haven't landed on an every weekday, but Wednesday or Thursday is kind of where we're hitting now. Last but not least, remember to check out Time Travel Radio, Talk Time Radio with Jaden. That's his baby, and it's hilarious. And How We Figure, featuring our very own Mole Man, producer Manny. So without further ado, let's get into Kat. And why don't you start? Just tell us, like, what's your first memory of the man, Adam Carolla?
Yeah, so I remember I wasn't allowed to watch MTV at my house, or it was pretty strict with the TV type stuff. Yeah, I was the youngest, and so by then they had sort of figured out different things that they were going to do, and it definitely wasn't worth the argument because I got away with a lot of other things. But I could watch it at one of my friends' houses at night when you would go for like a sleepover or something. So I just remember watching it on Friday or Saturday, whenever it was on. And just, Adam and Drew, that's who it was. And I was a young teenager, if even a teenager yet. And I was just watching it with like my chin on the floor, like,
shocking.
What's going on? Yeah. So I think some of the people who have stories from listening to it, or when Adam talks about it, and he'll talk about daddy issues, or, talking to girls about that, like none of that stuff was I have no recollection of that kind of stuff, but I definitely have of like people calling in and ask, strange questions about what was going on with their boyfriend or girlfriend with whatever.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be an adult one day and have to like deal with these things. So I remember doing that. I remember thinking that he was funny and trying to watch the Man Show, like, I don't know, maybe at the same time or a couple of years later, and just like not getting it, not being into it. And I don't know if that's being like, Jean, did you ever watch the Man Show when you were
No,
a teenager?
I was aware of it, and I saw it kind of hit or miss, kind of randomly. I think I was in college. I think we're about the same age, actually.
Yeah, we're the same age. Yeah,
class of 2000. Yeah, for high school. And I liked that humor, and I knew about it and I appreciated it, but I wasn't like a regular viewer. I didn't really listen to Love Line, but I also knew it, and I was just too like not developed to like really appreciate it, or like I was too awkward. I wasn't dating. I wasn't, getting involved with men. So I was like a very late bloomer. So
Well, I think like the Man Show, I mean, if I could watch skits now and be like, oh, that's, funny, and laugh at it and all of that. But when I was 15 or 16 or however old I was watching it, it was, it was just two like people my dad's age. That's what I thought, right? Like just slamming beers and like these models jumping on trampolines, and like I didn't even know that there were skits. Like when they started talking about it later, when I started listening to ACS, I was like, oh, there were skits on that show. Like that's how much I watched of it. So
I think it depends like what stage in life you're at, whether or not the Man Show or any comedian or show kind of, it really depends on what stage of life you're at, whether you're receptive to it or whether you're even interested in tuning into TV or radio at all at the time. So a lot of Adam's early stuff just wasn't the right timing for me. So I was aware of it and I knew of Love Line, but I think like you, I was kind of, some of those things just kind of put me off, like what? Like just weird sex things or whatever that, I guess I was pretty normal. I just was like a little bit too shocking.
It was like a little bit vulgar. So I just never got into it. And then when I started at the FBI in 2009, you go to like Quantico for for training. And so you're just like staying there. And obviously you're making friends with your classmates. And so I had one friend there that I was pretty close to, and he was a Howard Stern fan and a Bill Simmons fan.
Okay.
And so I wasn't into Howard Stern, but he had me listen to like Bill Simmons because I loved the Real World Road Rules Challenge. And, that was like Simmons's fourth sport, right? Like hockey steps. It should be baseball, basketball, football, and the challenge. And so I started listening to Simmons and just to hear those challenge episodes when you talk to Jacoby. And because I was taking the Metro every day, there and back, and after we got out of Quantico, and it was just long travel time, so you'd listen to podcasts or things like that. And so then Carolla was on one time, and I was like, oh, this guy's funny, I'm gonna check out his podcast. Like they were just kind of starting, right? And then I listened and I was like, oh, this guy, like I feel like I think like him, and it was funny. And so that's kind of how I started, just on those like long Metro rides, just like.
Okay. So that was so walk that back. So you came to Adam through Bill Simmons's podcast then?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then you came to Bill Simmons' podcast because you watched Road Rules, or like what show was that?
Oh, you don't know. Okay. Do you know what the challenge is, Jade?
No, I don't.
Oh my gosh.
But I'm really not familiar with him.
Okay, so you know Road Rules, and you know what Real World is, right?
I know Real World.
Those are MTV shows, right?
Yeah, so they're like MTV reality shows.
Yep, I remember those, yeah.
So so they came up with this concept like a few years into Road Rules. I think it was a few years in, where they basically pulled in like, all-stars from those two shows, and they would put them in a house somewhere like exotic, and they called it the challenge. And so they would have teams, and it's like physical challenges. I mean, there's mental aspects to it. There's like puzzles and stuff. So anyway, so they would like do physical challenges against each other. And then, a loser would go home each week. And then you get to the end, and then there'd be, 3 or 6 or whatever. And they would go through some like grueling, ridiculous challenge, and there'd be a winner, and they'd win a bunch of money, or they'd win prizes or whatever. Well, it like literally after a couple seasons, these all-stars were on like their 3rd, 4th, 5th challenge. And like they were making enough money off of appearances and going on the show that they were just like roiding up and lifting weights, and like they all became like little endurance athletes that were super strong, and could run and hike mountains, and could run super long distances, and all of this. And so it was like legit a sport. Like,
so they were all the original cast members then?
Yeah,
like all-star cast members from
okay. And Bill Simmons was one of these cast members?
No.
Or he was the host.
He was like a sports. Was he a host, or he just analyzed it?
Bill Simmons is a former sports writer, sportscaster.
Yeah.
I think he finally left ESPN. He did, well, whatever. You guys aren't going to know, but he left ESPN after a couple of years.
I remember his whole story. Yeah, because he had this
whole website now.
Grantland was his ESPN spin-off website kind of thing, and network, and he gave up all that, or I don't know, he got fired. I think it left. They left on bad terms because early days of censorship, maybe, or
I think just sort of. I mean, it's like a pirate ship mentality, right? Like he used to always get in trouble when he had Adam on, because they would have like pedophile was like something that happened on Simmons' show, right? That didn't happen on Ace's show. And so,
eventually what makes it popular, what makes it really popular and successful, they just grind it out. They just kind of remove the stuff that made that show, or made his network and style, what it was,
Right. Cause he kind of, he was always like a big sports nerd, and he always wrote sports articles and all that kind of stuff. But even on ESPN, like he wrote articles about the challenge as if it was like a real sport thing, real a real
Okay.
sporting event, like he would recap it every week during the season. And then when he had his podcast, he would talk about it. And when he started Grantland, so he's a good writer, and I got into reading some of his stuff. And then when he started Grantland, it was more of like, it was definitely a pop culture website. It had a lot of sports in it for sure.
Yeah, I remember that.
But like one of my favorite writers, Katie, somebody that was on there every couple of weeks or something like that, she would recap the New York Times wedding announcement section because it was just, so ridiculous. It would be like, Jane Fulton, originally from Katona, New York, great granddaughter of Abraham Lincoln, was, met Chris, whatever. And it's just like ridiculous stuff. And so she had a point system that she developed. And then as she would recap them, she would give points. And so they'd each get points. And so points were like, if you name drop like a founder of the country, or if you had an Ivy League school mentioned, how many times. So, and it was just, the most ridiculous type things that just unrelatable to a majority of the country. So
that's good. That's creative.
Yeah, just stuff like that. And I just liked it. And
so that was a pretty very maybe obscure but interesting path to Adam Carolla. Yeah, like multiple steps. Like a lot of things had to happen. A lot of things had to like align in the universe for you to find Adam and be like, oh, okay. Or maybe maybe you would have later.
Had remembered him from years ago too. Like,
yeah, it definitely.
Like, I wonder what he's up to.
Right, and I loved Drew. Right, like I thought Drew was cool. I mean, I'm just more like Adam's crude side. I'm not really into that much now. It just kind of like is noise. But at the time, it was a lot more shocking. Like, I don't know. Does that make sense? You guys?
Yeah. Well, it sounds like I know you have like a more religious background, and I think I'm like kind of curious if you see him as like, was this a rebellious interest of yours when you were younger, and maybe now he's sort of gotten older and he's kind of shifted a little bit to like family oriented, or so he says.
Right. No, I think it was definitely rebellious when I was like younger, because I was like watching something I shouldn't be learning about things that I wouldn't have learned about otherwise. But I still am not like I'm still one of those people that's just kind of like I would rather watch Jerry Seinfeld than somebody who like has a comedy routine that says the F word every other word. Like,
I agree. And I think it takes, and I've talked to comedians too, like people have dabbled in some stand-up, and they're like, it's so much harder to do clean comedy. Like it takes more skill, and it's just like higher quality, I think. I mean, that said, I think, to me, like when he swears, it's just kind of like the idea is like his mind is still like coherent, and I appreciate.
There's a balance.
And I do not care about swearing.
There's a balance where just, a perfectly timed F-bomb is really enhances a joke or a story. And then sometimes it's just, that's a word that has a billion meanings or feelings to it. So sometimes it's too much or sometimes it's perfect.
I don't know, like that to me though isn't crude. Like I don't care as much about the cursing. I know that's kind of the example I gave, but like I don't want like when Adam does live shows, I don't like those podcasts as much. Like I don't enjoy them as much as like him being in the studio ranting about something, or doing a skit or something like that, versus like seems like when he does a live show, when he opens a stand-up or something like that, it's usually just like vulgar, not the cursing, but just the topic.
He definitely works blue. Works blue a lot more, I think, in his live shows. And I don't know, I've always I like crude humor. So
I don't
So
know,
yeah,
like
it's
to
not
me, it
something I'd
just
play
seems
out loud
more
in the car for my kids and all that. But for
sure.
me, yeah, it's kind of a guilty pleasure if it's even guilty. It's just I don't know. I like it. I like the kind of the comics that push the envelope a little bit and
Yeah, to me, it
make it
just seems more
uncomfortable.
like
So
dudes. Like it's like dude zone. It's like
dude, bro,
locker room talk. Yeah.
dude,
I
bro,
don't know.
cursing. Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah,
It's
I
just,
Yeah.
get
I
that.
don't, yeah, I still listen to it. I mean, I send Jane, it's not like I'm sending Jane wholesome memes. I've sent her some funny stuff, but I would never put it on my Facebook page. I guess
Yeah,
it's just like
you women
Twitter.
are all
Yeah,
you're
we're the
horrible.
worst.
Yeah, you're all
Mhm.
horrible. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's not joke around.
All right. So speaking of, cursing, leads us into our next question. Do you have a favorite Adam rant or opinion? Is there one that
Oh
just
yeah.
kind of sticks
Oh.
out to you?
Yeah. I mean, I remember that Gavin Newsom one, and I feel like that's, the easy one to pick, but I just remember that one so well. It was so vivid and it was so, I don't know. I mean, it wasn't like I was listening live, but it felt like, I was listening that morning and I was just like, holy cow,
This is the actual the one and only the actual interview with Gavin
takedown.
Newsom.
yeah, like when he was talking to him.
When he was dumb
Yeah.
enough to
In studio, they were
come
like-
on. He was dumb enough to show up for Adam Carolla. Like he
Right,
made,
like, what
that
the
just
hell
adds
was
to
he
his
thinking?
stupidity, and like that he's a moron, is that he actually thought it'd be a good idea to go on Adam Carolla and just give Adam his canned responses to everything.
Well, to be fair,
It's
he
a big
probably didn't
misjudgment.
know. I mean, maybe he should have known. I guess that's the question.
Maybe.
But I don't
He
know
was
if
the
Adam
lieutenant
was as
governor?
prominent
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
those views at that point. So
Yeah, I
But
guess
like
so.
Gavin should be pretty strong in what he's saying, right? And I think he thought he was just walking into like some LA radio guy. He knew the type or whatever.
Yeah.
And that is not what he got. And I mean, you look at who was it? Fitzdog. Like when Fitzdog came in last year, maybe the year before, and they started talking about mental health, and he and Adam disagreed. And I mean, Fitzdog, he knew his stuff, right? Like when he started talking about, well, President Reagan got rid of, a bunch of this mental health stuff back in the 80s and blah, blah, blah. Like Adam didn't have an answer for that because Adam,
Yeah.
he's more of like a sociological talk about it in that respect, but he wasn't like digging down in the facts. And Fitz was
right.
like, well,
He
here
doesn't
you
know
go.
the nuts and bolts.
Right.
Even though he talks about nuts and bolts when it comes to like construction. But when
Right.
it comes to like the history or the politics
And Gavin should have known that stuff, and he like had nothing.
It was also just, it showed that beneath the canned responses and the platitudes, there was nothing. Like,
Yeah.
he either isn't smart enough or quick enough to like remember the real reasons that he believes in all this stuff and then speak speak freely about, his opinions on check cash or whatever. There was just nothing there is what it showed. And and it felt good. It was kind of like like political revenge porn. It feels good sometimes to see someone just get shredded on air.
It's
and
like cringe, but
and not even
right. Well, yeah. And
not
I
even
think
anything
that,
personal about Gavin Newsom. It's just more like he just symbolizes the guys that get up there and smile and repeat whatever they were told, the sheet of, bullet points of things to keep repeating and never get challenged by anybody. So it's just kind of like a great moment for all those, that frustration. So
I think the big thing is that I don't think Gavin Newsom like earnestly and genuinely believes those things. And that's why it's hard for him to really, go to bat and go deep on them, because he didn't, whatever Ace says about the whole Getty oil thing, Ace has taken a lot of liberty with that interpretation based off of like one, semi okay Google search. But but Gavin Newsom is, whatever he grew up as, he is what he is now, which is, a rich, super connected guy in, the sixth biggest economy in the world, running it. or at least, running the geography where that economy is. And he doesn't believe it. Like he's so removed from it. And I don't know that he was ever in it. He wants to believe he was, right? But
I think those guys like Gavin Newsom and, I can, even like Joe Biden, like, I'm not sure if it's a compliment or something to give them credit for, but they don't really believe any of this stuff. Like they were always just go whatever way the wind blows. Like it took Joe Biden 70 some years to come to this epiphany that it's okay for gays to be married and like that the military should have transsexuals or whatever. Like, it took him a long time to come to, this is like an Adam Carolla thing, it took him a long time to come to all these realizations, and now he's a hero.
Sure.
I
definitely wasn't for these things when it was not politically convenient. So they just don't believe in anything, like, really. So
and to that point, I think it actually would have been an even stronger interview on Adam's side if he had just let Newsom talk a little more and to shoot himself in the foot. I listened to it, I'm like, just let him say something stupid.
Sure.
I remember having those same feelings. let him hang himself. So so that was like the favorite that was like the origin of so many rants. So
right. I just think it was it was a little epic, like in one's idolatry of Adam. It was like, here it is, everything that you said, and now here it is, all true, just as you said, which like gets Adam off more than anything, right? Like,
he loves being right.
Yeah, exactly.
I only argue when I know I'm right. It's like, yep, all right.
That's a great thing to live by in life. Because I kind of I do the same thing. I only get into arguments when I know I'm right, when I know I'm going to win. So
I
hope all right. So to go for 180 on that, do you have an opinion of Adam's that you disagree with?
Oh, I really should have listened to some of these beforehand so I could have prepared. Do I have an opinion that I disagree with? I mean, definitely some of the religious stuff, like, I disagree with, but I mean, I really only think of it in the moment, like nothing overarching that I'm just, and he usually is, more of an opinion that he's jealous that he wasn't religious or like doesn't have that, or, he would be fine if his kids were, that sort of thing. It's not like he has disdain for religious people or anything like that, but sometimes it's more like Paul Bryan, some of the stuff that he gets into, but whatever. Anything else? I don't know. The one thing that irks me when he says that he thinks is like so funny is the bacon and the Bacos thing with Lynette, when he's like, hey, I bring home the bacon, you bring home the Bacos, like the bacon bites, like the like,
I'm not sure what else
she has a
called.
Smaller, her share is
just kind of like, hey, implying? Like, I am creating this wonderfulness, and like, you're just here to, you bring home a little bit, so like, calm down. Whenever he sort of brings that up as like, it's just so funny, I'm just like, all right, whatever. I don't know. It just, and I'm not some like, I'm totally, I love that she, was a stay-at-home mom forever and, doing some side things and that sort of thing. I think that's great. And I'm not trying to be like, hey, like, mom is the hardest job in the world, blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm not trying to say any of that. It's just like, I just don't get sort of the condescending, your like partner in crime and partner in life. I don't know where like the joy is.
That used to be, whatever. That was funny. Like, I remember when I first started listening to Adam, like, he would do, he was more talking about him going on the road a lot. And I guess he did go on the road a lot more, and they did a lot more live shows. And that was before Carolla drinks and all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of a funny bit that he would do about, he was on the road or at 2 a.m. and would come home and everybody's asleep still at 10 a.m. and or like come home and everybody's just eating sushi.
Right.
Everybody's eating sushi as he walks
like,
in.
I haven't eaten all day. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
but then like that that kind of changed. It's not the same anymore. So
Sure, yeah.
Right. But
Yeah.
you could argue it's sort of, for the feminists out there that want, equal, contributions. He's sort of making a little bit of an argument for that. So
Yep.
if
Adam
that's
Carolla
his
is a
point,
feminist
like
for sure.
he's like, no, I want you to be
Yeah.
involved. Like that's sort of, I think he kind of pressured Lynette into doing Carolla drinks so she would
Yeah.
be a contributor.
Maybe, and it seemed like it fit also, right? Because
Yeah,
she's
and I
very
think
popular with all the fans and everybody. So it kind of
Yeah.
made sense, and it looks like they have a lot of fun doing it, right?
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. They
But
like
yeah,
us. It's nice.
yeah, it just doesn't apply as
Notable for
much
us
as it
fans.
used to. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. And like I said, it's more of like the, the condescension of it, the, hating in the sort of like wanting the family unit, hating like, so much of his upbringing and that sort of thing with his, mom being lazy and all of these things, but then still wanting like, and he's always said Lynette's, a great mom. And, that's why he is so glad that he chose her or whatever. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, well, it's not, if she had something where she was bringing home the bacon, like she might not be that involved
Right.
with a
Yeah.
mom and able to do all that stuff. So I don't know. It's just sort of the, sometimes he seems to treat people like in the same way. And it seems like your spouse or your best friends or whatever should maybe get a little bit different, treatment
like
than in
yeah, it's like your life and your relationships are what you make of them, what you make them. So if you start seeing it a certain way, then you can start to kind of reinforce that, or it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy and the jokes you make. So like Adam with his parents, he's always like, he just shit talks so much. That's not really like if you're shit talking, that's not really a frame of mind where you're going to be receptive to any kind of outreach or opening or whatever. Or maybe, maybe
Sure.
he's just given up, but it's like, okay, well then if you've given up and you're shit talking about it, then it's kind of what's the point? But
Yeah.
and then joking or thinking or having that mentality of joking around about your wife that, just or whatever, not being appreciated, kind of just becomes the reality, and you can kind of create that. I don't know. I remember when I was married, I felt kind of the same way. I would travel and I'd come home and it was like, oh, you were gone. Okay, here you go. Like, here's a kid or whatever, and I can see it from both
Sure,
ways.
like
But
you're
it's
not
like,
tired.
it's like, okay, I mean, I get it, but maybe everybody could at least turn their head when they say hello.
Yeah, I think,
Like, hey,
well, and I think that like, Jane and I both listen to For Crying Out Loud. Well, she maybe still does sometimes, but, and I don't know if you have, but there was
never a second. No, I hear I hear great things. I hear great things about it.
Like probably during the first year or two of For Crying Out Loud, there was a time when like Lynette moved to a hotel and she was not living at home, and she was like talking about all this. And then I'm also listening to like Adam, and it's just like nothing. And he doesn't have to share the same things. Like it's fine. It's two different types of podcasts and that sort of thing. But it was, she didn't move there because he wasn't providing for her a roof over her head or money for sushi. It was because he's a dick, right? And he wasn't. Jane and I talked about this like last weekend or 2 weekends ago about like love being a verb, right? Which is so, I realize that whatever, it's kind of mushy, but it's especially him growing up in the situation that he grew up in. Like he has to be very conscious of that, and he has to work against maybe his nature or the environment that framed him to, catch himself from being a dick, right? And
I also think there's an element of, he talks about why he chose Lynette. He's like, he made a conscious decision to pick someone that was a 180 from his own mother. He kind of looked at this, he stepped back and said, I need someone the opposite of my mother. Lynette is displaying everything that is promising in that realm. But then maybe there is sort of like he was being almost so objective about it that there are other aspects he didn't really tap into. Because he's like,
Yeah.
he's like, when I was thinking about, who would be good as a wife, like he says, oh, I don't need someone to take care of me. Like I can take care of myself. I had to take care of myself growing up because my parents were neglecting me. So he didn't worry about that aspect, but I feel like now he's sort of switched gears and he's like wishes he had maybe a wife that was, doing more of the, housekeeping, you're showing, I don't know, like, and I'm not
I
like
don't know
faulting
either.
Lynette, like this is what he chose. Like this is, but maybe he starts to realize that there are other things he didn't think about because he was so preoccupied with choosing someone the opposite of his mother, so to say.
I can
Yeah, or
relate to a
almost
lot
like
of
it
that.
was a checkbox. Like it was a point in time. It was like, okay, now I've made that decision. Now everything shall be perfect and work out because I chose somebody that wasn't my mom. So she's great. So it'll just be fine. And I don't need to like water that garden or whatever.
Right.
I don't know. So stupid. But anyway, that
I can
bugs me
relate to
about him.
I can relate to that and like how, because I in my past I can have been a dick, but not because it's fun or you enjoy it. It's just it's kind of a mechanism maybe to keep people further away or something like that, or to protect something. So I don't know, as you get older and you kind of realize some of these things and
Was it
how
resentment?
it didn't work. It's not very
Yeah.
productive.
Well, I feel like it's a sign of resentment in some way,
I
maybe.
don't know. It's more of a just, I don't know, just being hard or acting hard or whatever to, I don't know.
Yeah.
You never, and then you just try to figure it out and
I
do
just think
better. But
associates so much of his like when you hear him talk about his upbringing, it's definitely he talks about neglect, like some sort level of emotional neglect, right? His mom being, just so wrapped up in her depression, basically. I don't think he's necessarily used that word, but it's a lot about food. It's a lot about shelter and where he slept and like all these very physical things. And I think for him, he is showing his like love, right, to Lynette by giving her all those things that he didn't have. But for her, that's that's not, she can get a house, she can get a bed, she can provide food for herself. And it's not that she's not grateful for the level that he is bringing in, I think, but there's a whole other side of that. And I just don't even know that he doesn't seem to talk about that part of it, right? That his mom not loving, being super loving, his mom not emotionally caring for him, or his parents just, he talks about them not caring, like not coming to a football game or something like that. But it just seems like he's on the food and the shelter and the clothes and things.
Basic
that's, I don't know
necessities.
if he specified, but yeah, I mean, I always kind of inferred that from what he was talking about, because I had one parent, my mom was into everything, right, would just do everything for me and all that, and very interested in everything. And even when I was like wanted to in the leave me alone phase. But my dad was like, he was that kind of dad. He was they were divorced, and he was the kind of dad that he would just, like, if I had a game, he would drop me off at the game, of course, and then go and do whatever errands, or go back and start working on fixing his fence or changing his oil, and then just come back after the game and pick me up. So it was like kind of a weird level of disinterest. Like, but later on I realized my dad, to him, it was like providing food, clothes, like that was his ultimate act of love, was just, you're not hungry, you're not in danger. You have electricity and running water,
Well,
and
also your dad
you should be
grew up,
grateful.
your dad grew up in North Korea, so
Yeah, he was a refugee
just to
from
give
North
some
Korea. So
perspective.
yeah, so his was like, look, like in the basement, there's a giant shelf of canned goods that, so we can survive the apocalypse. I love you. Like that's how he said it. That's how he said, I love you. I was like,
Yeah.
It was like, yeah, like today I'm going
But
to
when
show you're 8 years old, but today I'm going to show you how to dig a fence post, or like dig a hole for a fence post or change the carburetor in this car. And so that you can survive the apocalypse. Like that was it. I look back, I think that's like a lot of it, what he was thinking, like, because in his life, it was shit can go wrong really bad. Excuse my language, but it can go wrong really, really bad, really fast. And you could have nothing. So that was his mode and his, his way
like
of
a cultural
caring.
disconnect.
Yeah, like the
The
fact that I
language
was the
disconnect.
goalie and the MVP of my soccer team at age 12, like was very, very, very unimportant. As were birthdays. Like birthdays were like just literally nothing.
Well,
nothing
your dad doesn't even know his birthday, so
Yes, yeah, it was real.
maybe why.
Yeah, like I could never commit it to memory because it was always like, this is the date, but it's not really the date, or I'm sure whatever paperwork back then. So yeah. What were we talking about? So yeah,
All right.
Adam and yeah.
Next, yeah. So the next thing, we'll move on to drops.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite drop, past, present? I feel like we don't hear them much anymore because they're out of studios. This is a little.
I noticed on the Travis Tritt episode where just to throw it out there, Bald Brian had some great news about his health, and was playing that Travis Tritt song. That he was doing sound effect. He was doing the drops at the beginning of the show. So
yeah,
I'm not sure what's going on, because then you'll see it in the Aceholes group. You'll see where people just say he's working from home and doesn't have his drop machine. And they say it with such certainty that it's like, oh, okay. And then you watch the YouTube video of the last show and it appears like he's doing something, like he's timed it and he's choosing a drop and playing it. So
yeah, I don't know. Like those things are, when people complain about those in the group, I'm just kind of like, oh, I didn't even notice. But I like seeing,
sorry to cut you off. I like seeing people make proclamations about an interview or like a segment of the show, because I know, and I love it because I'm like, I can't wait to listen to that because it's going to be either spot on or totally wrong.
Right.
Like just 50-50, like just spot on, or like what we were listening to an entirely
I think a lot of the
show.
Gina mom stuff has been like that for me.
Yeah.
Like they'll be like, I can't believe she's, using this. And then I listen to it and I'm just like, and I'm not a Gina fan, but I'm just like, I feel like she's really trying to choose her words. Like,
do you mean like calling him the little one?
Well, just different things that she said. We have a little one at our house. Like she's, like they're like, oh, she's trying to act like she's the mom. I'm like, I think she's very specifically trying to not say that. Like to me, I'm like, she is very consciously trying to use the right words, but doesn't have the words. And it
seems like
she can't say the name, or
it seems like something that's a big part of her life. And so rightly, it's gonna, if you're just, you're on the show and it's going to come out. Right. But she seems like it's a big part of her life, but she is very careful about how she talks about it. So that annoys some people, but I don't really see I feel like she's, held a good line there, good balance.
Yeah.
A lot of, and you listen to it. Yeah. You listen to what she said, actually, that was outrageous to somebody. And it's like, that's really, if someone hadn't posted about it, I would have never even thought about the sentence again. So
I think it's a lot of the men
feel so strongly about her. Yeah.
It's like the men who complain about that more than the women, which is
listen, people love to hate Gina, right? People love to hate Gina. People love to hate Allison, but hating Gina is like a pastime. I mean, there's people in the group who that's the only thing they ever post about. Like if there's an original post, you can guarantee it. I mean, I have like inside jokes with a couple people in the group where like we will I instant message on the Facebook when like there's a couple people in there that's like, look what they posted today. Oh, it's I hate Gina. It's like, okay,
I don't have a problem with her. I like Gina. I think she tries hard, and I think it's, ultimately it's what Adam wants, right? So I'm tuning in for the Aceman. He obviously likes his team, loves his team. So, I mean, it's like, somebody in this group is supposed to know better than Adam, like who's going to be the best news girl for him,
Right.
set him up and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, it's kind of calling Adam, calling him a fool if you don't appreciate Gina in some way. So
yeah, I think so. I mean, she's very different than Allison. And so it's clear that he had a talk, about like, you're not here to be like the second star of the show. Like, and she definitely sits back and she takes her cues, but she sits back more. And I agree. Like, we're there because we're Adam fans, and nobody's listening to it because like, they live or die for Balder Gina. I think they're great sidekicks, and I don't agree with everything they say. There's a lot of things that I'm like, roll my eyes at Gina, which is just like girl on girl type crime, right? Where that's just what we do. We're super,
yeah, we've already established you're all horrible. You're all horrible to each other behind closed doors.
Yeah, it's just how it goes. So she's fine. But my favorite drop, or I shouldn't say my favorite drop, but the one that I find myself still saying after all this time where we haven't had like a ton of drops is like, I'll say to people who don't listen to Adam Carolla, the hi guy thing, and they're just like, yeah, like there's like, hi. Like,
yeah, it's weird.
Like, why are you saying that? And I'm just like, I don't know. I can't help it. It just like comes out. Hi guys.
Like the Irish Spring commercial. What? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Get yourself
like
put on a list.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know that I have a favorite drop besides.
I my favorite drops are like just the most recent ones. That's all, and then like, I like Bald Brian. One of his things is the timing. So
he is so good at that.
Yeah,
I don't know how he does it. Like, I would love to see his board and like how it's organized, and does he have labels? And
I've seen the board. I took pictures of it when we went to the 10-year anniversary show. Probably
does it
my
have
shirt.
Labels or what?
There were very few labels on it, which was confusing because he does seem to draw up more than just a few. They were just like, I don't know, 6 maybe, and they were the most common ones. So like, when some of the deeper pools come out mid conversation with good timing, that's a little bit confusing. My theory was that he's got some kind of program that the show's running through that picks up keywords, is picking up keywords. So like when the word sunny comes up, all of a sudden, like all the sunnies drops maybe pop up on screen or something.
Wow.
And it's kind of a combination between a board and a program, but that I really have no idea.
I picture him with like a search open of like, file explorer, and he's just like ready. And as soon as a topic starts going, he like enters in that tag or that keyword, and those ones come up, and he's just ready to like double click on it. But yours is like, feels
he would have
very
to be typing.
advanced.
He would have to be typing in those words.
Yeah,
there's speech recognition software. I mean, we have it all on our phones, so there's no reason why it can't.
I mean, they have trouble with internet connections. So,
yeah, maybe. Yeah,
I don't know. I have no idea.
I miss the drops at the end of the show. Like he picks one clip from the show, and he'll do it at the very end. And it's it's always, not always, but a lot of times something crude out of context.
Right.
When you hear it by itself. Because I remember I like to guess, like I would listen to the show and I like to guess, oh, what's he going to play at the end?
Yeah. So. Yeah. That's one of the like Gina things that I kind of roll my eyes at when she'll like say something. She's like, don't get that drop. It's like, all right. Like, now I don't want him to get the drop.
Like, her and Bald have to have their own little, dynamic going on.
Sure.
Aside from Adam during the show. And I don't know, I guess they try to have their own little thing. So I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. I think Gina was the right one, or, better than Allison to kind of help Adam propel the podcast like into more mainstream. Because she's willing to just kind of this, probably a lot of folks may not like all the, the posts and the selfies and all that kind of stuff, but there's kind of an element to that helps the ACS show grow and kind of get more listeners and, versus it's just Adam and two kind of quiet, obscure people. Like the more they put themselves out there, it's better for the show. So I don't know. I think Adam's a pro. So let's see. So favorite drop. So what else?
Yeah. So do you have a favorite guest, either recurring or say a one-time guest? For best.
I mean, Elliot Gould is probably my favorite guest. But that was a great episode. That is one of my favorite episodes. But it was just but I like Dana Gould. I like Fitz. I like the regular people. It's been hard during the whole the election cycle and some of that stuff. I felt like those people weren't, they kind of didn't want to be around some of the rants or around some of the conversation. So those weren't as good.
What about AJ Benza?
Yeah, I love some AJ. So I think I like that because I like when Ace digs into his TMZ side, right? Where he's just oh yeah, what is going on with that? And AJ just has this crazy network of sources and information. And so I definitely think it's that is fascinating. But I like the comedy guys. I like the ones that are just loose. It's totally different. I never really liked Dag. I was very hot and cold on the Teddy Pendergrass. Yeah, the Teddy Pendergrass stuff. There were times when I was oh, this is funny, and then in the beginning, and then after the third or fourth time that he's hey, let's do this again. It's okay, well he's just saying the same. It's just the same thing. Let's do another skit. This guy is that's what he does.
I loved it. I mean, I loved it because it made Adam laugh so hard.
That is true. That's a good point. The hearing him laugh makes you laugh more.
I love those moments. Those are the highlights of the shows. I have a couple memories, but of where Adam is just cackling so hard and uncontrollably, which doesn't happen too often. So yeah, that would happen with Dag. Yeah, that's the only thing I remember about Dag really is just the Teddy P stuff, and I don't really know what else he contributed.
I mean, he did the names of the drugs for the kids.
Oh,
but
yeah,
I feel like skits like that were sort of the beginning of the end of their relationship, because I think Dag got tired of being the black guest, the funny black friend, where everything just kind of circled back to that.
Well, the thing with Adam's guests Dag and Joe Coy's been mentioned. Where's Joe Coy? Well, he's coming on next week apparently. Is that these guys are in entertainment. So the pinnacle of their career is not being a regular guest on Adam Carolla to do bawdy skits, and curse up a storm. That's not really the end for their career. It's really it is a platform, and that's kind of what Adam's platform is supposed to be. Yeah, and that's good.
You don't go back to the launching pad.
Yeah, it's but I don't know. There's some folks that think that something's wrong, something's upside down in the world if these guys just don't remain regular guests. Because Dag at the time also, I guess he did. It came out that he didn't like Adam anymore, but he was also doing a CBS show. So I mean, if you're trying to get,
he was on Broadway for a little bit.
Yeah, and if you're trying to get a network show, because they're always either on a network show, someone like Dag, or they're trying to get a network show. You got to have your agent telling you, let's not do the Teddy P this week. That doesn't help us.
It doesn't help us. Cool thing, right? Somebody told him beforehand, hey, be careful on that show.
Who was that? For who?
Elliot Gould.
Oh, okay. Someone had warned him.
Yeah, I mean
Okay.
that's sort of what Adam said, was that somebody had, said like either this is what this guy's about, like characterizing him, or
Yeah.
said be careful what you say or whatever. And like Gould went through with the show, but he was just like tight-lipped, like
Yep. I remember
yeah,
I think on the Carolla Classics, Loxamana and Giovanni were talking about that, and that like said something to the effect of in Elliot Gould's defense, like he had no idea, like he really had no idea what was going on, like what the purpose of why they were on stage, like just because he was just kind of out of it, or maybe he had been warned, like this is some kind of like shock jock guy,
right.
and like just had maybe didn't knew something, but had a gross misconception about what he
Okay,
was
but
supposed
what's
to be
the
doing.
risk
So
in just going with the flow?
yeah, I mean, he's obviously not a very open. He's more of a guarded person, I guess. So
Well, but which is so weird because it's like you could see that happening with maybe a certain type of celebrity that was up and coming, but like fucking Elliot Gould, I mean,
yeah, what's he got
that
to
guy's
lose?
been around
Yeah.
forever, like ever and ever. He's not going to be out of work. He probably doesn't need to work. And
I don't know if he does much anymore, or he might be dead. I have no idea. Rest in peace, Elliot Gould.
right, rest in peace.
What geez, I forgot we were. Yeah, we're just going on and on about this stuff. It's good to talk to all of you.
We like spinned off. Oh, we were on yeah.
We were on what?
We were on
Guests.
favorite guest. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So Joe Coy and
So you ironically like Elliot Gould.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was like such a great episode. But no, I mean, Dana Gould, if we're gonna,
Right.
all the Goulds, that's who I like, any of the Goulds. I like him. He's just easy. He doesn't seem to be bothered by anything. He doesn't really, fit. I like Fitz, and sometimes it's funny and sometimes it's like digging in on an issue, but it's like Dana is just always going to be funny. And I think, Adam does the like dance monkey with Dana, and he doesn't push back. He just like goes for it and does it. And
yeah,
there seemed like there's a variety with Dana. And so it's not like, hey, we've heard this one before. Like there's only so far you can take brown sugar and white sugar. Like we get it. Next.
That might be that could be one of my least favorite, is Dana Gould doing Huell Hauser. I'm sure that a lot of people that disagree, but
I love it.
I mean, it's good at first. That's one where I've had enough, but I could listen to Joe Coy doing, brown sugar for a long time.
You could? Oh my gosh.
Or like Joe Coy doing like the Asian impersonations.
The PF Chang's
get me. Yeah, because my dad and my stepmother were Korean, and they would speak Korean in front of me all the time with like my name thrown in every now and then in anger. It's like like going at it in Korean, and then my name pops up and they're clearly agitated, talking to each other. Hey. It's like, okay, yeah, it's not. What a lovely dinner. What a lovely dinner.
I think that one reminds me so much of that Seinfeld episode where they're at the Chinese restaurant, and he's like yelling because Stan's sustained because there's
Cartwright. Cartwright.
Like, yeah,
because
the phone call, and he's just like, no, yeah, I don't know. So that one kind of reminds me of like the cousin version of that. I don't know. I like it.
That shit cracks me up because there was all kinds of like, my parents had all kinds of crazy Korean character friends like that are just so like many just off the wall, like not quiet and conservative at all. Just, just flashy and crazy and,
right.
Dudes with perms, back in the day.
Nice.
driving convertibles with the members only jacket, like Korean guys like that. Just a lot of off the wall characters. So
this is in Maryland.
Yep.
I've never seen this side. Is there Koreatown in
Baltimore? There's a big Korean community in Baltimore for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's because you're down more like closer to Virginia or something.
I'm in Northern Virginia, and there's definitely like Korean pockets around here, but nothing like that. I do think there's some like maybe like Vietnamese illicit gang activity in maybe like Arlington area inside the Beltway that I've like seen or heard about, but I've never really, no members only jackets and like cool stuff like that.
Yeah, this was 80s. This is a 80s.
Sure.
Yeah, 80s Korean business owners, like dry
Was there
cleaner
like
by
a place
dry
that-
cleaner by day and nightclub animal at night.
Nice.
Yeah, wait, was there like a place in the US that Koreans tended to gravitate to, like Polish people into Chicago, Somalis have gone to Minnesota.
I don't
Or they're kind
know.
of all spread
I feel like there's pockets all over. I think like people just go set up a church or they know somebody else and
Yeah.
It seems more, it's probably more concentrated on the coasts, like Los Angeles, of course, like big cities, anywhere where there was a need for dry cleaning and liquor stores within a few blocks.
That's
running convenience stores. So Baltimore, I think a pretty large community. I'm sure like New York has it too. Probably not like some of the northern coastal cities.
Yeah, I don't know. There's some weird like pockets of people in some southern states though that you're like, oh, well.
That's true. My dad actually, when my dad first came to the United States, he went to like rural South Carolina. So it's a stories from another time. So yeah, that was that was a different journey. So
sure.
So favorite guests.
All right. Yeah. So next question we kind of touched on. Do you listen to any other podcasts in the Carolla?
Oh yeah.
First. So I know you mentioned For Crying Out Loud. What about say Reasonable Doubt, Adam and Drew?
So ever since the pandemic, I don't go into work anymore. And I'm selling virtually. So my car time is like nothing, right? Like daycare is 3 minutes away. And, I take some kids to gymnastics or ballet, but again, that's all like 10, 15 minutes away. And that's like once a week, twice a week.
That's why Adam's viewer or listenership is way down because no one's driving to work. Like half the country is not commuting anymore.
Everyone's habits totally shifted, I feel like.
So maybe that's why he wants to.
So it's hard to predict.
Just kidding.
Right. I started like, even when, I don't know, for some reason, like if I'm going for a walk outside, I listen to a book on tape. Like I don't listen to the podcast. Like the podcast for me is like an in the car activity. And if I'm walking outside, if I'm, working out inside or doing something, I put TV on. And if I'm working, I can't listen and concentrate at the same time. So I definitely haven't been listening as much. So Adam was always number one. And then if I would get through that, I would listen to Reasonable Doubt, like on occasion. I like it. I mean, I think all the stuff's funny about Garrigus and, him being like, Colin Kaepernick's you just wait till next week.
Do they talk about that? Funny. Do they talk about Kaepernick anymore? Have they moved on? Because I could listen to Reasonable Doubt if they would just, because I'm tired of hearing Mark talk.
It's not over.
That pissed me off a while back.
He still comes up every so often, but now it's a lot of the Derek Chauvin.
Yeah. Okay.
George Floyd stuff. And they bring up Tim Hortons Flats, the restaurant.
Now
that's
one thing that's great about this new like post-pandemic Adam Carolla is all the YouTube stuff, and they're doing more social media. So they'll put out the entire episode on YouTube, which sometimes is my like nighttime, like that's my like nighttime talk show, like that I listen to at night or watch on TV. But they also release a bunch of clips, like best of Garagos, like 5 or 6 minutes long, that kind of give you the meat of like the Reasonable Doubt, like a topic they discuss. So that's kind of cool. So I get to, I don't really listen to it, but I do watch those clips to kind of see what they've got to say about a certain subject.
Yeah, I think I like the Garagos ones just because Adam sort of respects him as an expert. So he lets him speak. Yeah. And when he's asking a question, it's nothing that Adam can just like off the cuff be like, oh yeah, I could talk about this now for a little bit. Like it's, just ridiculous stuff that a normal person doesn't know. So I like that. And I mean, I stopped listening to For Crying Out Loud, of course, like when everybody else did. And I wasn't listening as much because they used to talk about like some Bravo shows, but then a bunch of the female listeners, probably the ones that still listen to For Crying Out Loud, complained about that. And you know, the show just got a lot more like complainy and just not, it just changed. And I think that's it. Like, what else is there? I mean, I don't listen to the Lady Lackeys. Yeah, Carcast.
Yeah, water cooler.
No.
Lady Lackeys now.
Yeah, I mean, I feel bad because I think that I would like the Lady Lackeys. I think I would like several of these, but it's just a time thing, just not being in the car.
I've listened to a couple of theirs and it's good. It's entertaining. But yeah, like I'm driving now again, but there's like so many things that I'm barely caught up on Adam Carolla's show, and I hate being behind. I don't like seeing people talk about the shows in the group, in the Adam Carolla podcast Facebook group, and I don't know what they're talking about. So
yeah, you're like, what?
Feel bad for not knowing.
Yeah, I really make a point to stay up with Adam, but then I've had a hard time finding time for much more beyond that. So.
And then when
like
Adam
talks and Drew
about
have fallen off, AJ, I feel bad because I love him, and now I met him, and
I know
I'm like friends with him, but I have a hard time fitting him in too. I need to go on a road trip.
Right, that's what you need.
Yeah.
Are you still
more traveling
with AJ?
I am. Yeah.
Yeah, I dropped one of them. I guess I dropped the politics one. And I mean, it was great. It was great to listen to last year. And that was the one that I like listened to, even though I wasn't driving. I listened to that more in the Ace, but
yeah. After the election, I was like, he went off on like, you know, challenging the election. I was just like, I don't have the energy. I can't.
Right. Yeah, like, I was the same. It was like November
AJ was getting
3rd,
into that, really?
Done.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah. AJ's big. Yeah.
So big. I kind of feel like on that whole, like, yeah, it's possible that there was something fishy, but come on.
I just think in general, like grand conspiracies are just really just not unlikely. I mean, they're just, and that's why I was like November 3rd, done.
It really shouldn't be surprising that Trump lost. I mean, part of my theory is that he didn't really want to win, because he may have said that, but a lot of his actions and inability to rein it in a bit, like, were just like, that's like someone that doesn't really want to win, like would really be done with it, but then doesn't like losing. So like stuck in between.
And I think it was more that, he's like, I don't want to lose.
Yeah.
So I don't want to do this anymore.
It just became ridiculous to me and embarrassing, really, for serious people that thought maybe, you know, there'd be something more there. So not to say there wasn't a lot of good stuff done, but how are we looking on time?
Everybody? That's a good question. I don't know how to look at
we got Kat's here is hiding in the bathroom.
It's 3:06. So
no,
I mean, that light's gonna turn green in close. 9 minutes.
Okay. Well, is there anything else we want to cover before we say goodbye to each other?
Were we gonna do? We talked about doing prom stories.
Can you cover all the?
And I already told my story on the last episode, but
I don't really have any.
Well, didn't you have something that was like similar to prom?
Yeah, the high school. I went to a private high school. There's only like 200. It was like 200 boys in all 4 classes, so like 50 boys in each class. And then we had an accompanying girls' school that maybe had about the same number. So it was a very small little group of people. So they were all like, we didn't call it prom. They were like cotillion dances or ring dances and different names for it. I don't remember. Yeah. I just have not a lot.
Did you go to any of this? Like,
yeah.
Okay.
Just kind of boring. I don't know.
I feel like you're hiding something.
No, I'm kind of embarrassed. I mean, there's, we drank a lot at a young age at our school, so that may have affected things. There's like a small group of us that wouldn't remember anyway. So like No, not really. It's pretty uneventful. Like I lived in a neighborhood where all my friends went to the big high school. So a lot more, they had a lot more fun, I'm sure, because they had just a lot more, like 2,000 kids, in the school.
Co-ed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not, and like more people that you'd never met before, but everybody in ours was just like a known entity.
Mhm.
So I don't know, it was just kind of
that
boring.
sounds small.
Boring. Yeah, it was very small.
What about you, Kat? Did you go to
I
prom?
mean, I went to my junior prom. That was fine. Whatever. My senior prom, like my friend and I, we a girlfriend. We were.
Oh yeah, here we go.
No, not like that. I'm like, oh yeah. So a friend of
Okay.
mine who was a girl, we both were dating people that were older, and so we weren't
Here we
gonna
go.
to prom.
Here we go.
Wait,
But-
how much older? Because in high school, like
That
it's
doesn't
hard to go
matter.
that much older.
And so we weren't gonna go to prom, and so there was this guy that we were friends with, but he was super, super religious. He had never been to a school dance. He was on the basketball team, like a normal kid. He just like they didn't go to dances. And so the three of us went and saw Aaron Brockovich because that was out. It was like, oh, let's go to a movie. And then it was like, what movies are out? And it's like, oh, how about Aaron Brockovich? Like, oh, whatever. So we saw that, which was like, a fine movie, but it's just like
For prom night.
and then
Yeah.
we went to after prom, which was like, putting on sumo wrestling suits and like getting in like a money machine that like blew money
was
in the
this
air.
like
and you tried to
organized
grab
by
it.
the school?
You said
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Was that
okay.
so you don't go home and like drink and like to keep
I
things
guess.
like
You
Right.
said as if it's common practice for people to get on to don the sumo suits and money
It was
with the
like,
money air
did-
machines
Did
after
you guys
prom.
have after prom?
No, but we had that for graduation. We had a post-graduation organized party
Yeah.
at like a, I don't know, some club, like a, not a club, but like a Elks Lodge, if that.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So we had like a hypnotist and there were games and
Yeah.
stuff
Like a
that.
casino thing. There was like all these things going on. And I don't know. It was just fun. It started at like midnight. And yeah, I mean, by prom, you're like, you've already been to like 3 or 4 other dances that year. It's the end of the year. And that was, the most fun part about prom anyway. I mean, we weren't really super girly girls. So like getting dressed up and getting, all that stuff done just to like go with like a friend who's a guy is like, oh, okay.
Right.
So it's just like, no, we're not going, but we'll, see you after prom. And that's what we did. And we just hung out with a bunch of people after prom and had a good time. And yeah, it was kind of weird because it did work, I guess. Like, after homecoming, after boosters, after all these other dances, Sadie Hawkins and stuff like that. Like, yeah, you just went to somebody's house and like drank, whoever's parents weren't home. You just like drank made bad choices. And then like prom is like, well, we better go to after prom because our parents are working it and we got to go there and show up. And then
we made every
like,
night.
Hi, Mom.
Our goal, like in high school, that was the goal was get away from the event as soon as possible. Like, where are we going to get served? Like, so where are we would go downtown to Baltimore to like really seedy neighborhoods. Remington Liquors was one where, like we could just walk in school clothes and get cases of beer. So we'd go there. And the whole goal was to like get somewhere where there are no adults, where we could just, start tearing stuff up, just start getting hammered. So we were always just trying to get away. I don't know if it's probably a bad thing, but yeah, we were just trying to get away and party.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
So
I get that.
So I guess none of us have strong power rankings here. We're all like, I went and I told it on the last episode, but I was on a boat in San Francisco Bay, but a girl from the date of a guy who came from another school, she was so wasted when she boarded that they had to turn the boat around and get her off, and they wouldn't let us go back out. So
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's
Prom on a boat. That's
at the dock.
Jay, so white. So white.
What?
Prom on a
In San
boat.
Francisco.
Yeah. We were in the San Francisco Bay on our yacht having prom. No.
Yeah.
That's pretty wild.
She's like, what can I say?
Yeah. Nothing you're ashamed of.
Don't advise it. I don't advise it. It's a high risk. Anyway.
Yeah, I definitely feel bad for the kids that haven't, didn't have a prom last year, didn't have any dances, graduated, all of that. Like, even though, my prom was not standard, my senior prom at least, like, I just can't imagine not doing all those things at the end of high school, right? Like, just, I don't know, just everything, just finishing out.
Can kids like party still? Like, because it's just it seems like there's such a network of parents and Facebook and social media, and they're dumb, so they leave a trail of all the antics they do. Like, can kids really
I don't know.
Can they act out anymore? And
I think so. I mean, I think that parents and kids are on different social media, but
okay.
But there is a trail, right? And there's always some kid that's going to show somebody's mom.
Like, I know all the signs to look for as my kids get older. But yeah, some parents have no idea. Yeah, my parents had no idea. So yeah, but I'll be like, doing like sneak breathalyzers.
I do think it like skips a generation.
Spying on those kids. Yeah, it could. Yeah,
you'll probably have good.
My kids should be good. Yeah.
Yeah, but it'll also be because of you. You'll be like, I know the tricks.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
you're not going to be an oblivious parent.
No.
Right. It's like, oh, you want to get drunk? Like, I'll go buy some beer and we'll sit at this table and you will drink this 12-pack or this handle of vodka. Like, let's go. Yeah. Show me you're a man. I'll be like,
I think, as Adam says, like, you just want to make sure, like, all the vices of the world, that that you don't create a weird energy around them. Like, no.
Yeah.
Yes. Anything like, so that
even
they just
food.
kind of, especially food.
I'm like that with food with my kids. Yeah. They're both girls. I put food out. I don't, you guys are Facebook friends with me, so maybe you saw what I fed them for dinner last night, but like, I put food out and I do not care if they eat it. I'm like, whatever. Last night was string cheese, American cheese slices, one of each, strawberries, carrots, tomatoes. And it was like, here you guys go. And then they were like, can we have chips in a can? It's like, I don't know, eat some of that stuff first. And then they forgot about it. They ate half of it. And
I tell him, my son, I always warn my son, I try to talk to him in how he understands and what I think will get him to think about it. Is I tell him that food is trying to trick him. So I'm like, I said, you notice when you have a bag of Doritos and you eat the Doritos, like, you're never full. Like, you'll never stop. And I'm just like, they're tricking you. I mean, I know it's kind of stupid, but in a way it's true. Like, it's tricking you because you can just fill your stomach with Doritos, but the signals never go to your brain to stop, like, that you're full, because they're just not. It's like that. They know it's like that. It's delicious. I'm not anti-Dorito, like, not
real food,
but like, just kind of know that, so that you have a few and don't eat. Just kind of recognize that in yourself, where you're just hammering through the bag of Cheetos or Doritos.
For sure. I think my oldest is like, she's she self-regulates like everything really well. She's not disciplined. She's just like, I'm done with it. It's a confidence thing. She's super confident and she just like, I'm not hungry anymore. I don't want to watch the iPad anymore. I want to do this. Yeah. And she just kind of does it. Whereas the younger one is like, you give her ice cream and then she's like, I shall have some more ice cream. And you're like, okay, well, you got to stop after some point. Right. But she'll tear through anything, do anything. But she self-regulates certain things, but not food. So she's the one that I'm like, got to be careful about it. I don't want to give her a complex, but I also want to what you just said. Like,
I have the same thing with my twins, the girls. One of them is just, she won't, she'll just keep eating. She loves all food, a grown-up food, any food. And then one that, give her like a little thing of ice cream and she'll take 3 bites and be like, I'm done.
Yeah.
Like, that was all she needed, was just the flavor and a few bites.
Right.
And
the
she was
fight
good
to get it. Is she fight to get it?
Nope.
'Cause
Could care
my
less whether,
oldest-
you know.
Yeah, my oldest is like, I want chocolate. And I'm like, okay, well, it's late. You know, she'll fight, and then you'll give her like 10 peanut M&Ms, and she'll eat like one and then fall asleep. She doesn't care. She'll hoard them. Whereas her sister's like, I'm done with the 10. Can I have more? Can I
Yep.
go steal hers? And it's just,
Yeah, they're very different. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess
It's
catch
interesting if
one.
all those patterns carry on when they get older. Like, will
Yeah.
they, like when they get older, you're gonna watch them and be like, yep, they were like that when they were little, or are they gonna kind of go in a totally another direction?
Well, you know what?
I kind of think that they will be, unless we mess them up. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm trying not to, you know, put out their flame, I guess.
On that note, I think that sets the stage for when Kat comes back to talk to us again. We'll talk more about the FBI.
Yeah.
The FBI, and you know, we just interviewed our first FBI agent here on Endless Ranters.
FBI
get into like
analyst.
Yeah. Stop it. Don't stop it. We'll decide what your rank was now.
Oh, okay.
So super agent. So you get into that. We'll get into some how not to give your children an eating disorder, you know, and just all the other mysteries of parenting. What do you think? Come back and talk to us again.
I love it. I would love for Jane to rub off on my kids. She's 1,000 times more disciplined than me. So
yeah, she is. Yeah, that's true.
I have a weird thing. Like, I have a very healthy relationship with food. So when people
and exercise and socialization and everything.
I give people advice, but then I'm like, you know what? You have to understand, I don't like sit there and eat my feelings. Like, so I can only get through to someone so much if that's an issue for them.
Yeah.
Okay. And then how to make friends with Jane. We'll add that to it too. Because like, she
Jane
moved to California.
Everyone's life better. Yeah.
She's like, yeah, I'm gonna get out there and meet some friends. Like, what? How do you do that?
Right.
Yeah. And then she's like, oh, I have my friends, my walking friends and coffee shop friends. And yeah.
Where did you meet them? I met them in these places, and now we're doing something. Like, okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Even in pandemic times. Gotta keep out there. I'm new to the city. So.
Hey, like I found a driver's license. Let's meet this random man.
Listen, I feel like I've seen the picture from the driver's license, and I think she made the right decision. And I told her that. I was like, what are you doing at first? And I was like, wait, send me the picture. And she sent it. And I was like, I think you made the right decision to be like, I wonder, maybe this guy, like, he could be 5'2" and just like, you know, 300 pounds, or he could have, this could have been a picture from 10 years ago, and he could be, I guess you knew how tall he was, and he could be, you know, he could have come up.
I just wish I had snuck in a picture, like a current picture when I met him, because it was, oh my goodness, not the same person. I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
But whatever, I got a story out of it.
That's true.
Exactly. That's what life's about. Good stories to tell.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
all right.
Yeah, more stories to come. We appreciate everybody listening to this new episode. Hope you enjoyed a little bit different format, but we'll be back with the same old and back with more new stuff, you know, in the coming weeks and months. So really appreciate it. I'll say from Chris, get it on.
Get it on.
Right. Take care, everybody.
Bye.